Hi, I'm Garm1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with B. Dave Walters. How's it going?
Good, good. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me back again.
Oh, I'm glad to have you back. You're a joy to talk to, my friend.
Thank you.
So, today you're here to talk about Into the Motherland, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is in original Afrofuturist TTRPG. It is a full scale RPG that we're developing with a team of all POC creators, set in the far future. So it's an expansive sci-fi epic.
Awesome. So, before we get into the specifics of the actual game, can you tell me a little bit about Afrofuturism?
A lot of it's the simple answer is it's a future where black people still exist. I think for a lot of reasons in science fiction, you find that a lot of time marginalized people aren't there. Sometimes it's because like things like Star Trek, even though there are of course people of color in Star Trek, the idea, especially to join the Federation, that you need a certain amount of homogeneity to be in the Federation, that everyone being the same is a hallmark of progress, which is not necessarily ideal. I don't want everyone to just be blended together into one just sort of paste. I think it's wonderful to celebrate our cultural differences in lift up everybody. The key is equality, to not oppress or suppress some people because of their cultural identity. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that people of color have been here since the beginning of science fiction and storytelling and gaming. You know, people forget that cyberpunk was created by Mike Pondsmith, who's a black man. So just reminding people that we've always been here and will always be here, even into the far future.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about Into the Motherland specifically?
Well, again, as a sci-fi gamer, it started with our Twitch stream. Tanya DePaz, who's our creative director, I'm the lead developer of the game. Made an arrangement with Twitch to deliver some all original content in an all original setting last year. With the time, it seemed like we had a lot of time, but we kind of sat down and looked at the calendar, and it was like, well, if we have X deliverable by this time, then we need to start by this time, which means the game needs to be ready by this time. So it ended up, I think we had like 4 to 6 weeks. It was a very tight turnaround from when we said we'd do it till we had to have something up and playable. And one of the original things that we hit on was the idea of no colonialism. That the inciting incident of this story will not be manifest destiny or expansionist greed. And we were thinking about ways to tell that story. At first, it was like we'd have people of color from the modern world go out into space, but then we were like, well, it's too late for us now. Like we'd take some nonsense with us. So how do we tell that story? And we just worked backwards in time to the 14th century. There was an emperor in Africa named Mansa Musa. Musa. I always say this man's name wrong, and I'm sure if he were here, he'd say it different than what I just said. But he was arguably the richest man in history, and he sent a fleet, an expeditionary fleet, to the New World, which the conventional historical record says never arrived. Personally, I feel like they did arrive and became the Olmecs, but that's neither here nor there. For the sake of our story, through an as of yet unrevealed mechanism, those people were transported to a planet far away out in space. And now another 2,000 years has passed past that. So we have all of these new human beings making their way in this planet, both mixing with the indigenous intelligent life, and also striking out into space from there, going out and exploring new planets and encountering new beings and new cultures, and just seeing what's out there.
Awesome. I quite like that. And yeah, the ocean just does that sometimes, you know?
It just happens, Bermuda Triangle, yo. We're like, and you're gone. You're with us now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to space, motherfucker.
Exactly. I mean, I know why it happened. I have not revealed why it happened. That's all. Yeah. So.
Ah, yes, the dark secrets of the lore somewhere in the GM section.
Yes, exactly.
um, so what do people normally do in Into the Motherlands? Like, what's the average adventuring party, or group of friends going to be up to?
Our touchstones are Wakanda and Star Trek. This is not Star Trek or Wakanda, legally distinct. Some people have said this, like, no, these are our touchstones for the vibe. Which for me, Star Trek is hopeful exploration in a brighter future. Like the Federation is out in space because they want to be. It's the best and brightest of all of these species that are out having a good time finding things. They have problems, they solve their problems, and they keep rolling. Again, they've all chosen this life of their own free will and volition, not as conquerors but as explorers. And that's definitely the tone. Exploration is the tone. I know we've run into before people saying like, well, if there's no colonialism, then what's the conflict? No, there's still plenty of things to disagree over. There's still limited resources, territory, ideological differences. There's still stuff to fight over. Just the idea that God has chosen some people to have dominion over everyone else is not what anyone is fighting over, basically. I mean, even in the stream, we've already encountered it was pirates over water rights. That were trying to steal water because that's hard to come by in space. So there's things like that. There's alien races that have their own motivations that might be quite different from our characters and be generally non-concerned with them and their needs. So that sort of thing. But I think any of the type of Star Trek, Firefly, Battlestar Galactica, any of the Mandalorian, any more of the sort of down in the mud frontier sci-fi, probably be able to scratch that itch for you.
Yeah, we're humans. We have plenty of reasons to fight over stuff.
Exactly, and that's before aliens get involved. So yes.
Speaking of aliens, why don't you tell me a little bit about the aliens of the setting?
The main ones that have been revealed so far are they're the Hyanol, which a couple things. Well, first there's I'll tell you all of the cultures in this, because we don't refer to them as races, we refer to them as cultures, in quite intentionally. A lot of us have been a part of the work with WotC, sort of trying to broaden the horizons and cultural sensitivity of the portrayal of some of the races in D&D, which we all love. But we wanted to reject from the beginning the idea of any correlation between race and morality is always problematic. That it's like, you are bad because this is what you were born, or you're good because this is what you were born. Because usually the way that plays out is the fairer skinned races are the smarter, wiser, good races, and the darker skinned races are the evil, brutish, physically powerful races. And we didn't want any of that. The game has no attribute system. There is no dex, con, strength scores. Everything is based on skills, what you yourself have consciously learned, and values, what's important to you. Those are the things that define you. And how that plays out with our cultures is we have moose aliens, human beings. If you were to take a DNA test, they'd register just like you and me. There's the Hyanol, which are a hyenid species. They look like anthropomorphic hyenas. And of course, they look like these massive, powerfully built predators that you would think are monstrous, but they're not. They're engineers and philosophers. They're actually the smartest ones on the planet and the original indigenous race there. Because again, from the very beginning, we wanted to subvert those conventions that you're like, oh, those are the orcs. It's like, well, but they're not, though, and also orcs should mean a lot of different things. We have the Mansagene, which are the human beings that have embarked down the path of cybernetic upgrades to the point that they're basically sentient AIs now. They're arguably no longer human at all. But they take pride in their imperfections. They take pride in the times that they've been damaged and repaired and are scarred and things, because to them, that is like a living testament to the experiences they've had and the wisdom that they've acquired. There are the Solansi, which are human plant hybrids. that have just dove head first into becoming one with the environment. There's the Misajai, which are another form of a symbiote where they have bonded with a native energetic species to become like greater than the sum of their parts. Similar to the Dax symbiotes in Deep Space Nine, but different in the sense that, for my money, the Dax symbiotes were a passenger, but the not human side, but but their host, to me, didn't really gain a lot from it, other than it's like, well, I kind of have access to your knowledge for a little while, and then I'm gonna die, and you'll keep rolling. Like, this is definitely more of a synergistic relationship here. We've introduced the Hathaway, which are an elephantine species that are giants that are heavily influenced by Indian culture, because one of our contributors, Jasmine Bular, put that in there. And that was one of the design principles that we've had from the beginning, is that we brought on people to collaborate on the game, is let's create the game that you needed when you were 10 years old. What are the stories that you'd wish you'd got to tell at the time? And how can we celebrate your culture and heritage in a way that you will be proud of? Like, how can we show the beauty and the complexity of where you come from? And we've taken this kind of as a thought exercise, though, because it's like, that's the starting point, but now let's pull that strand 2,000 years. What does that even look like?
Right. That's a lot, man. That's some good stuff. I quite like the Mensagene.
Monsagene.
Okay, gotcha. Every scar is a prize, and every broken bone's a treasure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So
it's like that the Japanese concept. I can't say the word right, but it's when things are broken and repaired, they're more beautiful for the imperfections. It's a very similar principle.
Kintsugi, yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, the origin of that is quite a wild story. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the professions of the Motherlands?
Yeah, same thing. We're careful in our language. We don't call them classes. It's professions. It's what you do. There's a lot. We just reveal kind of a sampling of them. One of the joys of having to develop the game in parallel with the stream has been, we came up with a bunch of ideas, but when we're talking to them, we're like, yeah, but what do you want to do? Like, you tell me what you want and I will make it. Like, all the way up to when Abria joined this season, I sat down with her and I'm like, what's interesting to you? And I will make that. So a lot of these classes were born out of just like, I think it'd be fun to have a person who kind of does blank. And I'm like, got it. And then went and made it. So just a handful of the professions are bio priests. They're like android high priest healers, essentially. Like, they approach everything from the universe is binary, ones and zeros. If you figure that out, you can do anything. Blade keepers, which are the a type of warrior caste. Obviously we have a lot of them, but usually they it is inspired by the samurai path of of integration and unity with your sword, basically. Spine rippers, which everybody's eyes light up when we talk about spine rippers, which are brawlers, just fight with whatever is at hand. Like, there is no glory or artistry or beauty to it. There's just win. Lightbringers are stand-in for paladins, combat healers, basically, that are down on the front lines and still have healing capability. Tintus, which are pilots and speed junkies, the ones that are actually getting you in and out of these missions and piloting your ships in space. There's engineers. There's a bunch of other ones that are going to be in the book. Pet classes. Heavy weapons specialists, people that just like get dropped in alone to pacify the area by themselves. All sorts of things. Yeah.
Oh, it's excellent. Pacify the area. Yeah.
That's it. Pacify the area. Yeah.
We're just gonna give them a sippy bottle and a little nap time.
Yeah, but it's like a large caliber sippy bottle. But yes.
So, why don't you tell me about the mechanical system that Into the Motherlands runs on?
So for the stream, we run the Cortex system. We are primed by Cortex, which has been great. For the book, we have yet to decide what system we want to use, and it may well still be Cortex. We've been blessed to have the opportunity to partner with a lot of different companies. Which would mean we would agree to use their system. We also have the opportunity now, thanks to the generosity of our backers, to develop our own system if we think that is going to be the best way to tell the best story. I think there's a lot of details that are wrapped in that decision that I think people overlook. Things like some publishers have retail distribution to get the books in stores, some don't, you know. But at the end of the day, our goal is to just be able to tell the best story possible and make the best game possible that people are going to enjoy playing. Because our hope is that we are creating not just a game, you know, we're creating a new universe that people are going to want to go get lost in. And you know, the game mechanics are kind of fundamental to that, because if it's too clunky, nobody's going to want to play the game. Nobody's want to spend any time in that world. So that is why we've been rather coy about what system that we're going to use, because again, we're fortunate to have a lot of options.
So it's probably not going to be GURPS then, huh?
I find the likelihood to be slim. Who knows? You know, if Steve Jackson Games, you know, calls and offers us the right partnership terms, I mean, maybe, dog, but probably not. Probably not. Yeah.
There you go, Steve
You
Jackson.
never know.
I'm sure
There it
you
is.
watch
Get
this
at me,
channel.
Steve.
Yeah.
Get at me, Steve Jackson. You know, for those of you that know me as a proud Fintrue, everything has its price. Okay.
I'm glad to hear you guys are using Cortex. I have an old Cortex Plus book somewhere around here. I've got Smallville.
Yeah, no, big fan of it. It was great because without Cortex, we would not have gotten up and running as fast as we can. Cam Banks has been fantastic. Even if we choose to go a different direction, that will not be in any way a slight on Cortex. The stream, which is tonight, as of the time of this recording, it's every Wednesday nights on twitch.tv/Cypher Tier, is running on Cortex right now. Prime by Cortex.
Yeah, for sure. It's a complicated decision when it comes to the publishing.
It is. There's just a lot to it, and there's a lot to the development, and there's a lot to what you can communicate and what you can get across, and we all have a vested interest in not doing a D20 system. Again, we all love D&D. Several of us are literally compensated to play D&D, but we're not trying to remake D&D in space.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of that already. Some of which I love, but you know.
Yeah, well, and that's just kind of the whole reason why we went sci-fi and not fantasy. I think we're full up on Eurocentric fantasy. I think we're good. You get a lot of options if that's your jam. You know, we wanted to create some other things.
Yeah, there's no shortage. Sorry, my cat is kind of writhing.
Adorable. No, I said it's like I require love right now. Yeah, I get it.
This one's Hubble. Very cute. The other one is Cannon, both named after astronomers.
Nice.
Anything else you'd like to highlight while you're here about Into the Motherlands, or anything else really?
You know, just in general, I would say vote with your wallet. You know, it's great to put up black squares on Instagram and all those other things and hashtags, but if you have the opportunity to support marginalized creators, please do. I realize not everyone does. There's been plenty of times in my life I didn't have an extra $5 to back a project, so no harm there. But you know, signal boost if you can, help us get the word out. That is the most useful thing. And take a look at the Kickstarter. If it seems like this is something that you would be excited about and you're able to back it, please do. We're a lot of our stretch goals, quite intentionally, are aimed at improving the quality of the product, just adding more to the book, less about adding extra things and externals, although some of that exists. You know, we've got plushies, I appreciate the cat's gone to war with the headphone cord there. That's it. My cat is not allowed near the electronics because mine are Anakin and Maleficent, and Mal is at war with cords. I don't know why. She exists to eradicate them, so she can't come near the equipment. Sorry, I digress. Yeah, we have plushies, we have enamel pins, we have minis and terrain from Monster Fight Club. So the dice, exclusive dice from Die Hard Dice. So we have all of the accoutrement, but at the core of it, hopefully you will see this world, you will see the sentients that populate it, and feel like a place that you want to stop by and visit. And you are welcome to. There's room at the table for you.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it because this sounds really cool. I really do hope that you can, spin this into a full multimedia kind of thing.
We can hope. We're trying, man. Obviously, the better the Kickstarter does, the more likely that becomes too, because it's a proof of concept. The whole thing's a proof of concept. I mean, obviously, our focus is delivering the game. I need to say that quite clearly. Our focus is delivering the game.
Yeah.
But hopefully, the game is just the tip of the spear to everything else that we'll get to do.
Yeah, you guys aren't falling down the old Kickstarter trap of, wow, I have a ton of money. Let's split it in a ton of different places and then never deliver anything.
Exactly. We are all incredibly mindful of that. Incredibly mindful of that. Gotta deliver what we say we will.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. At least until you're big enough and Kickstarter lets you just make infinite projects without delivering your stuff.
Never want to be there, but yes, theoretically, yeah. Well, things just they just have long timelines. I mean, this is my fifth one. Wait, fourth one now, and I'm yeah, fourth, and I'm 4 for 4. So there you go. But it's things take time to come to fruition, and then they take longer than you expect. They always do. There's some caveat, some curveball. COVID has shown us the vulnerability of the world supply chain. That just stuff happens. I think the important part with crowdfunding, since this is ostensibly a crowdfunding blog, is openness and honesty with your backers, and just let them know where you are and what you're doing. And people are understanding as long as you don't BS them.
Yeah.
As long as you're like, hey, look, this is where we are. This is what we're working on. We're going through layouts. Our copy editor just found out she's pregnant. You know what I mean? So we're behind on that, but but we're working on it. We're working on it, because as long as they feel like the process is proceeding and they're still being included in it, you're all good. It's only if, like you said, you take the money and run, or you're off doing a lot of extraneous things that nobody asked you to do, that you run into some bad blood.
Yeah. Like I've backed projects that are, years overdue, or parts I like got canceled, but as long as they're open and honest, I'm not, not too upset. I'm a little upset, but
Exactly. Well, as long as you still feel like people are operating in good faith.
Yeah, that's the
at the end of the day. Operate in good faith. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you again.
Pleasure's all mine. Glad to do it anytime.
For sure. And yeah, the link to the Kickstarter and the link to the stream should both just be below this video, so go check those out. And,
hey.
Be Dave Walters. It's always good to have you on.
I appreciate it again. Thank you all so much. Thank you for supporting my projects, this projects, and anyone else's projects, because you all make it literally possible to do what we do. So thank you so very much. Bye, Kita.
Have a good night, everybody.